Well, tell that guy that we're going to be praying for him and his vocation. You know, if you want to travel, travel right. Travel with Our Lady. I was a graduate student in Rome, studying at the Angelicum, doing a doctorate. And it was the spring of 1989, so Holy Week was the coming week. So I was standing on a bus that was filling up in Stazione Termini, and I was looking out the window, and I looked down and I saw my buddy, Peter, who was an American seminarian in the Society of Our Lady of the Most Holy Trinity. So I jumped off the bus, said hi to Peter. I said, Peter, what are you up to? He says, oh, well, you know, next week's Holy Week, and I'm going to go to Agreda, Spain, where the Venerable Mother Mary of Agreda lived. And she's a very famous nun who lived in the 1600s. She had the gift of bilocation, and one of the places she bilocated to was West Texas and New Mexico. She's famous because she wrote a 4-volume series called The Mystical City of God, in which the Virgin Mary actually appeared to her and told her all kinds of details of the Virgin Mary's life that filled 4 volumes. And Peter liked reading that book, and the founder of the Society of Our Lady of the Most Holy Trinity, Father James Flanagan, he loved reading those 4 volumes. So Peter wanted to go visit that monastery. So I said, well, Peter, can I go with you? And he said, sure, if they have enough tickets and everything. So we jumped on a bus, went down to a travel agent in the center of town of Rome, and we walked in there and we said, we'd like a round trip tickets to go to Madrid, Spain. Can we get a ticket round trip for $200 each? She started looking, she says, oh boy, I don't think you're going to be able to do that for $200, but let me just check one more thing. She says, oh wow, there's a special deal here. If you fly through the island of Mallorca, you can get it for less than $200. So we got you covered. And let me see if there's any seat availability. So she looks at the seat availability and she goes, oh, well, there's 2 seats left and the flight leaves tonight at 5. Would you like those seats? And I look at Peter, he looks at me, we're in. So we buy the seats right on the spot. So later that afternoon, we're out at the Roman airport and we're waiting for our plane when an elderly priest and a religious sister see Peter in his black cassock, because he's a seminarian. I'm just dressed in layman's clothes because I'm a layman. So they come up and engage us in conversation. And I'm pretty sure either Peter or I gave him miraculous medals. And so at one point the priest says, well, Peter, where are you staying tonight when you get into Madrid? And Peter says, oh, Our Lady has a place prepared for us. He doesn't have any idea where we're staying. And the priest is saying, oh, you really need a place to stay. And Peter goes, well, Our Lady will provide for us. And finally the priest says, look, they're sending a van from our religious community to pick us up. You're riding in the van with us and you're staying at our house tonight. We say, okay. And so we got there about midnight at their religious house. I remember laying in the bed going, how did I end up in a bed in a religious house, in Madrid, Spain? But Our Lady, she delivers, like first class in a certain way. So the next morning we get up and have breakfast and they deliver us to the bus station where we could catch a bus to Agreda, Spain, which was 2 hours north of Madrid. I say, hey, Peter, where are we going to stay while we're in Agreda? It's a town of 2,000. He says, well, the sisters have a guest house attached to the monastery. We'll go to the monastery and see if we can stay in the guest house. Well, there's nobody home at the monastery, or if they're all in prayer or something. No one's answering the door. So I said, somehow one of us came up with the idea, well, you see that hospital over there? It's a Catholic hospital. Let's go in there and see if they have any room. So I remember Peter and I looking at this nun saying, we're sort of like pilgrims visiting. Do you think you'd have an extra room in this hospital that we could stay in for 3 or 4 days? And the nun says, let me go talk to Mother Superior. So Mother Superior comes. Now, I can't remember for sure if I gave her a miraculous medal, but I'm pretty sure I did. I said, Mother, would it be possible for us to stay here for 4 days while we visit this monastery? And she says, no, you cannot stay here for 4 days, but you can come here twice a day for lunch and dinner while you're here. I looked at Peter and said, that'll be wonderful, Mother. So we leave. And I said, well, Peter, that's pretty good. We at least got food. We're not going to starve to death this week. But when we went back to the monastery again in the afternoon, the little lady that was sort of ran errands for the nuns, she came out. We told her our story. And the nuns then allowed us to stay in their guest house, which was attached to the monastery. On the last day that we were there, the mothers, there were probably about 15 or 20 nuns in the convent, and they all wanted to have a chance to talk with Peter direct about what was going on in the Society of Our Lady and things like that. So we went into the monastery proper, And there behind the grill were the 15 to 20 nuns, and Peter and I were on the other side of the grill. That's the way it works in these contemplative monasteries. And so they began to ask Peter questions. And then just towards the end of it, one of the nuns in the back says, "Hey, Peter, by the way, what about that guy that's next to you with the red beard?" Because I had a red beard then. Now I'm in the white beard club, but I had a red beard. And Peter says, or the nun says in Spanish, "Does he have a vocation?" And Peter says, "Well, right now he doesn't think he does, but I think he does." And then the nun said to Peter, "Well, tell that guy that we're going to be praying for him and his vocation." And I'm going, wow, they're turning up the heat on me in Agreda. But we got back on the plane and went back to Rome and had a great time. Well, after I was ordained a priest in 1996, I was thinking of all the things that had happened to bring me to the altar of the priesthood. And I remembered that interaction with those nuns in Agreda, Spain, and I began to just wonder how their prayers had helped me become a priest in the Society of Our Lady. So I wrote them a little thank you note. Ave Maria.